Hello everyone, my name is SpectrumOwl, and today we'll be playing more Sims 4. Today is a speed build episode where we are going to enlarge our house, making sure that we have enough space to live a luxury life with the four of us, you know? So this is, yes, a part 8, but it's also a speed build. Let's head in, shall we? So, we are gonna start off with doing a few things here. I'm gonna try and refrain from commenting directly on what I'm doing as we go, because I have learned through editing and hardships that I am a very bad person when it comes to lighting these things up. The things that we are gonna do, though, however, is making sure that we have one thing right, and that is we want to make sure that we add an extra layer on top of the existing layers, and we also want to create, you know, well, basically, we want to create a third space as well on top of our large house. So we really want to make sure that we have extra living space. And, you know, we have a ton of money. We have like, I think we have like 90,000 simoleons. And yeah, basically, we are just going ham and trying to figure out like how are we going to do everything here. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I struggled with filling every single thing, but I'm really happy with how things turned out, especially like the top floor. And I will say I have a lot of trouble trying to come up with getting the right thing done, basically making sure that I get my vision into the game. And one of the things that helps me a lot are of course, you know, videos from other content creators. It helps me a lot to look on Pinterest. Another thing is, of course, is the Sims 4 pre-made rooms. I don't want to copy them directly completely, because I know how just plopping them down makes, you know, it's just pure death. However, what I have been using is just checking out whether I can get everything in there. You know, and that's just one of the things that you will see me do a lot in this video, making sure that, you know, I have a sort of an idea of what I want to make, but I am not great in like getting it across, and that's what I noticed as well. I was like, okay, how are we gonna get this in? So I was looking on Pinterest for like balcony placements, and you know, what could you do in like a Shenda type of vibe. And so I did a little bit of pre-work, but I also, I really wasn't sure on what I wanted to exactly take over, because, well, I had like a plan of a few things I wanted. Like, for example, I wanted to add a library in, because you know, Dare, the new girlfriend of Philip, she loves to read. And I figured, okay, yeah, let's make sure that whatever we do, we're gonna add a library in. And one of the things that we don't have, for example, is we don't have a garden. So we use a balcony in a sort of in an apartment sense, where you can use a balcony to have your outdoor things, you know, to make sure that you feel that outdoor vibe. Yeah, so I've been thinking about stuff like that, and that's just one of the reasons why I was like, okay, I'm gonna just create good stuff. I really enjoy my decision to include my face cam, where I am just basically showing you the top of my very bald head, you know, blinding you guys. But it is what it is, you know. I'm like, okay, I want you guys see my struggle, feel my struggle when I do things like this, you know. And one of that is, of course, that I'm a little bit of a, I'm no longer, you know, 20, so I'm like looking down at the screen, trying to figure out what in the name of whatever is a Sims thing, you know, where or what is in the catalog. And you know, it's tough. I feel like it's tough, you know, trying to get it all exactly right. But in the end, you know, we're making things work. It's just, yeah, you'll see a lot of my of me just bowing basically, and just making sure that we have everything, that I can see everything properly. And I won't lie, I'm not really. It's gonna get worse more, because when I said before that you know, I was using the pre-made rooms a lot this episode, And I can tell you right now, I started for sure just looking around in them, and like you'll see a lot of more of my heads. Yes, for sure. For sure. So but that's all right. Yeah. So I had like, once I had this basic thing down, once I had the full structure down, I was like, what am I gonna fill it with? You know, the library. Okay, I'm gonna make sure that we have, for example, the you know, like a lovely bedrooms for our children, you know. And I was like, okay, what are we gonna do with it, with that, you know? And I figured, okay, I want a little bit like a gothic, you know, angsty teen versus more of a happy teenager vibe, or maybe it's not even, it has nothing to do with happy or unhappiness. It has everything to do with, you know, just a general vibe that you like. And it's okay to have either. There are very happy people that are gothic and very unhappy people that are dressed like Barbie. You know, it has nothing to do with your fashion sense. But that being said, I liked the thematics of it. I was like, okay, I'm gonna try and like get it through, but I also wanted to give it a little bit more than just, you know, darkness and the end of life. And, you know, I was like, no, I want to really figure like a good middle ground. So and I saw this particular room in the catalog, and I was like, yes, this is really good. So, you know, it's a little bit, you know, purple, but I was like, yeah, it looks just a-okay, you know. So and then what I liked about it as well is that I was looking at things and I was like, okay, you know, I don't want to just plop the room down and then just, you know, shape it, mold it into what I was already doing. You know, I was like, okay, I want to take the catalog, I want to look at the catalog, and then if I agree with where things are, I can like really put that in. But there are also like places where that's just not the case, you know, where you want things to be a little bit different, and that's what I've been doing. You know, that's what I've been doing. Adding stuff myself. So yeah, it's just a little bit, you know, I'm using things for sure, but I'm also trying to make it my own. You know, I'm having a bit of trouble here with the windows and what do we put on the wall, and you know, I try to make it a little bit more filled in because it's a very small room, and I'm already like fully throwing my own rule that I put in place out of the window, apparently. But yeah, basically what's happening is, you know, I'm just looking at these things that the Sims team have created in terms of like a pre-made thing, and I figured, you know, I'm just gonna use it. So yeah, I'm pretty, like I said before, I'm pretty very happy with the top floor, and then we're currently like finishing everything there, or maybe it's gonna take a little bit longer. You'll see as we go. I also chose for this particular speed build, I have a little bit of a lower speed. So for my speed build Sundays, I thought, like, let's put it on a ×6 speed. See how that is and see how long the video gets. And also, I was wondering, like, how happy am I with that? You know, can I really like? Can you really look what I'm doing, or is it like not that? So please leave a comment down below with your, you know, with your ideas on that. Was Sunday like viewable? Was it more viewable than, for example, today? You know, because one of the things that is fairly important to note is this one is on 4.5 times speed, so it is basically 1.5 times slower than the Sunday speed build from this week. But you know, it made more sense. I felt like I'm gonna experiment a little, gonna see what I can see. I know already what's happening, so I have a sort of a bias. Whenever I open a speed build for myself, I'm like looking through this, I'm like, oh yeah, this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen, because I was there. But for someone who is not there, they're gonna be, you know, like, this is too fast. I have no clue what's going on. Like, what is the vision? What are we looking at? So, you know, it could totally be something like that. And I'm really interested in people's view on that. So for sure. That being said, one of the other things that this building it gave me was, or basically what these things gave me were different sort of like decorations, but also like, you know, cabinets and walls and all that kind of stuff that I've never used in my life. Like, I have not looked at them whatsoever, and they have been just, you know, it was eye-opening in a sense that I was like, oh, is this possible? And I was like, at one point, I'm like, I'll perhaps it's gonna be later in the video, you'll see it. But I was like, there are LED lamps in The Sims that I can just hang on a wall. I have never seen this before. I've never looked for it even. And it you know, it pushed me. You know, it pushes me to look at things differently and see how things go. That being said, yeah, it really works out in a certain way. So, be happy about that. Besides that, I chose to include a creativity option for both kits. So, for Celeste's room, I have a beautiful easel in there. I made it a little bit like scrunchy and so that it's like it felt used. You know, I don't want to give a child a fresh new thing, you know, with the risk of it becoming unused or, you know, or becoming bad, you know, that kind of stuff. So I was like, okay, it makes sense if the easel looks a little bit used. It could be your first easel, you know. And for the other child, I've completely forgot her name, I'm so sorry. We gave her a violin. And, you know, I'm not sure if they want to do all of that. And maybe we'll move them around, change them as we go. But I figured, you know what, I like to include a little bit of that creativity possibility. And, you know, maybe it's not going to be anything. But if it is, it's going to be absolutely okay. Besides that, yeah, I'm looking at all of this and I'm like, okay, yeah, there's so much more stuff going to change. And we're only basically we're halfway and I've only done the upper level. And of course I created a shell, so things were there. And that's one of the things that I had a little bit of trouble with. I looked at things and I was like, okay, I'm really done right now. I've been working on this for a long time now, and I have no clue what to put in the other rooms anymore. I'm not even gonna I'm not even sure basically on whether I can fill it, you know? The other part of that as well is that and we talked about this, I think, at length as well when we created, or when I did the speed build for the original house here. These sides of the house are very thin. Like it's very hard to put a room in there and then also a hallway. It's not really possible to fit everything in. And I had a huge trouble figuring that out, and at first I was like, okay, it's gonna be easy, you know, I'm just gonna make it open. And then I was like, okay, but how's the space gonna be? How it's gonna look? Does it fit for a library to be open? Does it fit for anything to be open, like, really? Those are kind of all the things that I have been thinking about and struggling with a lot as well. And yeah, and that's just basically what you'll see me do for, I guess, the next 10 minutes, where I just, you know, or whatever time's left. You'll see me just struggle a lot with how do I want things to look. Do we use these windows? Are we gonna get this in? And it was a good process for me to do. It was renovating a house and just adding to it. I think, you know, the earlier house that we had for when Kirsten and Philip were still together, I think the house was beautiful in terms of how I put it in there, but I ran out of ideas to put in, and also money. In this case, we have plenty of money, but, you know, looking at all this space and I'm thinking, you know, at the second level, basically, or if you look at the American way, so the first floor is the floor on the ground, and the second floor, I was looking at the space and I was like, okay, I have no idea how I'm gonna do this, because I need to put in the butler's room, but I also need to put in, like, you know, the master bedroom, and what would that be like, you know? In what way would that actually completely work. And that was finding it really tough. I figured, you know what, I'm just gonna add in just walls and we'll see where we get. And so that's what I did. I was just going basically on, let's just create everything from scratch. What do I think is a good size for a master bedroom? Where would they be? You know, so that's kind of where all of the whole second floor design is coming from. Me just trying to figure out, like, okay, how are we getting like separate spaces, but also making it accessible, making it open, making it breathe, making it like do something, you know. And I think you know, it was a lot. It really was a lot. I wasn't really certain on how to get it in. I think it is one of the reasons why it's very good for me, I think, to do the speed build Sundays, where I become better and maybe, you know, receive some feedback on what I can do to add, maybe figure out, you know, the mistakes that I'm making. And yeah, that would help me out tremendously in a few ways, actually. But I think it is just, if I don't have any comments, it's also fine. I'm just gonna try and build more so that I can get better at it by just sheer repetition, you know, by sheer figuring the stuff out. And that's one of the things that I really do enjoy as well, like trying to get into this habit of just, you know, sitting down and doing this. It's basically how I started this whole content creation journey anyway. You know, I have the time, so I was like, okay, what I'm gonna do is I want to do content creation. I'm not sure yet how I want to do everything, but I was like, okay, I'm just gonna start, you know, I'm gonna hit record, I'm gonna figure some stuff out. And of course, in the beginning, I already had some ideas in my mind. Before I actually started this whole journey, I had like an idea of what I wanted and how I wanted to do things. And, you know, things were, I really was like, okay, I think that I have found everything that I can without having any knowledge of what I'm actually doing. So that was the point where we're like, okay, you know what? It's the 4th of December. I'm gonna hit record. I'm gonna see if I can just shoot a one-shot video, you know? And as times progressed, I started to editing more. And as time progressed, I needed to do, I wanted to switch games as well. So I switched to Sims 4 and I was like, okay, I want to do speed builds, but how do I even do a voiceover? You know, how do I do all this stuff? Also, like, how do I figure out sound? How do I figure out lighting? How do I figure all of this out? Basically, it is just a whole learning journey by doing, by just letting it hit me as it came through, and you know, as I ran, basically. And I want to do the same thing with like this whole building thing, where, you know, I love The Sims 4. and I love The Sims. I've been playing The Sims for years. I think I mentioned it in the other speed video. But actually building, you know, back in when I had Sims 2, I don't think I talked about that in the Sims in the last speed build. Back when I had Sims 2, me and my sibling, we were basically just throwing down a big box, and then as we went, we created rooms so that it made a little bit more sense. You know, but we made families of 8 back in the day, because 8 was the maximum, I think. And we just plopped it in, just all adults just plopped it in there, and then maybe ourselves as like kids. I'm not even sure if we did. Maybe we even made everybody just adult, and then we just made rooms as we go. You know, we were like, oh yeah, we need to eat right now, so maybe we should just add in like a dining table, you know. And also, oh, you know what we're missing? A kitchen to make something. And to think about that, I'm here just like, okay, I need this space filled up, right? I need to figure out what I'm gonna do with a little bit of that space, because I don't need all of this space for a library. And I felt like also it was important for a library to have like, you know, like corners, you know, like having a true book nook, you know. So I'm coming from just building a big box to, you know, figuring like, okay, I just want to have like a little bit of an extra seating area, just, you know, just having a little bit of a little good place where we can just enjoy spending time, basically. And it's not gonna have to be functional in the game, perhaps. One of the things that I'm really bad with as well, like, okay, I want functionality over how things look, but I'm at a point where that is slowly changing. So yeah, I'm looking more at things like, okay, how am I even gonna work this out properly? You know, I'm gonna do this, and I think this house is so very clear. One of the things that I struggle, like that shows my struggle. You know, it shows how much how much I try, but just I'm not fully there yet. You know, but I'm getting there. I'm working at it. You know, so yeah, I'm pretty happy with how things turn out, and but I also realize I think at one point you'll see me start looking over, and I'm like, oh man, I'm already half an hour, 1 hour and a half in. I have absolutely no clue what to do with everything else. I need time to recuperate, to think about what I'm gonna do. I'm also seeing my money dwindle, right? At the end of this, you'll perhaps you see it, perhaps you don't. I will have 31 grand left. I spent 60 grand basically on all of this. Yeah, basically, and so you'll notice that as you'll come to the end, I will start looking at like making sure that things are labeled properly, right? So that we don't have the business issues. I'm also starting to like assigning the beds. I will assign, you know, all the kind of good stuff. At least I try to assign the beds. For some reason, I can't assign the kids to their beds, so I'm certain it's gonna be fine. But you also notice I will remove doors. I have no clue what to do here. I have no clue how to fill it right now. So if I want to have it in a playing capacity, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna remove the things, and we'll change things as we go, or maybe we do something else. And that's basically how I've been looking at it. But yeah, it's been it was a struggle. I'm still thinking, looking at it right now, looking while I'm doing the voiceover, that I'm probably gonna do a part 2 for this as well, so that I'm gonna do another speed build where we just finish up the whole house, and you know, finish up everything, and you know, just figure everything out properly without, you know, having to entertain, but also not having to play with an empty house. So yeah, I think that's just gonna be the right things to do things. And that way we basically make sure that this is gonna be, you know, fully filled in before we play again. So that's just how it's gonna be. And so I will undo the. It's gonna do everything. Also, the one thing that I also ran into was another problem, but yeah, we're kind of finished for today. And so I want to leave it there for today, guys. If you had a great time, please consider dropping a like and subscribe. That would help me out tremendously. If you did, if you have some feedback for me, you know, if you have comments or questions, please leave a comment down below. It would help me out tremendously for myself, but also for the algorithm. And I hope to see you guys next time. Goodbye.